how I do it. Not the flashy version, not the fake guru version, the realistic version. And the truth is, on a $50,000 salary, you actually can build a strong investing plan, but only if you do it in the right order.
This is educational, not personal financial advice, but I want to walk you through the framework I'd personally follow if I had to start over with a normal income, no investing momentum, and no financial head start. Because the biggest mistake beginners make is thinking investing starts with stocks. It usually doesn't. A lot of people get stuck here. They're asking, should I save first? Should I pay off debt first? Am I too broke to invest? Am I already too late? Do I need to pick the perfect stock? And that confusion keeps people frozen. So here's the shift that matters. You do not need the perfect investment. You need the right financial order of operations.
If I made $50,000 a year, my first goal would not be grow money fast. It would be stabilize my money first, then create consistency, then build long-term growth. That's how you make investing sustainable. Because if your finances are fragile, your investments become your emergency fund. And that's how people end up pulling money out at the worst possible time. Let's put numbers on it. A $50,000 salary is about $4,167 per month before taxes. Your actual take-home pay depends on where you live, taxes, deductions, benefits, and all of that. But for a simple example, let's say you bring home around $3,200 to $3,400 per month. Now we're working with real-world money, not fantasy money. So if I had, say, $3,300 a month coming in, I would not start by trying to invest half of it. I'd build the system first. Step 1. Basic survival plus mini emergency fund. First, I'd make sure my essentials are covered. Housing, food, transportation, utilities, minimum debt payments. Then I'd build a starter emergency fund. Not a giant one right away, just enough to stop a small emergency from wrecking everything. That might be $1,000 as the first target, or 1 month of essential expenses. Why first? Because if your car breaks down, your phone dies, or you get hit with a random bill, and you have no cash buffer, your whole plan collapses. This part is not exciting, but this is what makes the investing plan survive real life. And here's where most people accidentally sabotage themselves. They invest too early, then life happens, then they pull the money back out. That's not investing, that's chaos with extra steps. Step 2, high interest debt. Next, I'd look hard at debt. If I had high interest credit card debt, I would not ignore that and pretend I'm building wealth. Because if your debt is costing you 20% or 25%, that's a financial fire. In many cases, paying that down gives you a better guaranteed return than investing. So if I had toxic debt, my priority would be keep building basic stability, make minimum payments on everything, then aggressively attack the highest interest debt. That doesn't mean never invest. It means stop the leak before trying to fill the bucket. Step 3, employer match, if available. Now, if my job offered a retirement plan match, I'd pay very close attention to that. Because an employer match is basically one of the few places where you can get an immediate return on your money. So if I had access to that, I would usually try to contribute enough to get the full match, assuming I'm not in total financial chaos. That's one of the smartest first investing moves for beginners. Step 4, build a stronger emergency fund. After that, I'd expand my emergency fund. My longer-term goal would be around 3 to 6 months of essential expenses, depending on how stable my job is, how many people rely on me, and how unpredictable my life is. If my monthly essentials were, say, $2,000, then a full emergency fund might eventually be $6,000 to $12,000. That sounds big when you're starting from zero, and that's okay. You do not need to finish everything overnight. You just need to stop being one bad week away from financial panic. Step 5, begin investing consistently. Now we get to the investing part. Once I had a starter cushion, a debt plan, and at least some financial stability, I'd start investing consistently. Not aggressively, not emotionally, consistently. And for a beginner, I would keep it painfully simple. I would focus on broad, diversified, low-cost index funds or retirement account investments built around the overall market. Why? Because beginners usually lose by doing too much, not too little. They chase hot stocks, they overtrade. They try to outsmart the market before they even understand it. Simple wins here. So what might this actually look like on a $3,300 monthly take-home? A realistic example could be something like 50 to 60% for necessities, 10 to 15% for financial stability and emergency savings, 10 to 15% for investing, 5 to 10% for debt acceleration. Depending on your situation, the rest for flexibility, lifestyle, irregular expenses, and breathing room. For example, $1,700 for essentials, $400 to emergency savings, $300 to investing, $300 to debt payoff, $600 for everything else. Transport changes, subscriptions, small fun, unexpected life stuff. The exact numbers will vary, but the point is this: you do not need huge amounts. You need repeatable amounts. Even $100 to $300 per month invested consistently is not nothing. For a beginner, consistency matters more than intensity. And honestly, that's the part most people underestimate. If this is helping make investing feel less overwhelming, that's exactly the goal of this channel. Now let me show you what I would avoid completely. First, trying to invest before building any cash buffer. Second, copying high-income creators whose plans assume way more leftover money than you have. Third, waiting for the perfect time to invest. A lot of beginners sit on the sidelines because they think they need to learn everything first. You don't. You need to understand enough to make a solid first move. Fourth, picking random stocks because they sound exciting. That's entertainment for a lot of people, not a beginner strategy. And fifth, expecting fast results. This is a huge one. The beginning can feel slow. Because it is. At first, your emergency fund looks small, your investing contributions look small, your progress feels quiet. But that quiet stage is where real financial strength gets built. Social media has completely warped people's expectations around money. It makes it seem like if you're not making huge gains instantly, you're doing something wrong. That is nonsense. If you're making $50,000 a year and building a cash cushion, lower debt, consistent investing habits, and a system you can repeat every month, you are doing something very right. Wealth building usually looks boring before it looks impressive. That's normal. And that's exactly why this works. Because the goal isn't to feel rich for 1 week. The goal is to become financially stronger every single month. So if I had to boil this entire strategy down, here's the order I'd follow on a $50,000 salary. First, cover essentials. Second, build a starter emergency fund. Third, grab employer match if available. Fourth, attack high-interest debt. Fifth, grow your emergency fund stronger. Sixth, invest consistently into simple diversified funds. And seventh, increase contributions as income grows. That's it. Simple. Not easy, but simple. And if you've ever felt like finance content was made for everyone except normal income beginners, you're definitely not alone. You do not need a perfect salary to start investing. You do not need to know everything. And you definitely do not need to become one of those people who turns money into a full-time personality. You just need a plan that matches real life. On a $50,000 salary, the win is not looking rich. The win is building stability, then consistency, then freedom. That's the game. If you want, drop a comment with the part that feels hardest right now: saving, debt, budgeting, or investing. Because I can tell that's where the next useful videos should go. And if this helped, this is exactly the kind of finance content worth sticking around for.